Welcome to Worthwhile Watches. Today we're looking at a GMT World Time from Islander. This is the Islander Calabro, which gets its name from the Brookhaven Calabro Airport on Long Island. This watch first came out about a year ago, and it was the first Islander watch to use the Seiko NH34 GMT movement. But a few weeks ago, they introduced 5 new colors to the lineup. Originally, they had a green version, a white and blue, a gold, red, and blue Seiko Pogue-inspired color, and this black and yellow version. The original black, white, and gold versions are no longer available, but Mark from Long Island Watch mentioned that the green version was the big hit of the first batch of colors, so they did a restock of the green model ISL 193, and they've added a new black and red version, a red dial version with yellow accents, a blue dial version with orange accents, a purple dial with green accents, and a full lume dial version with orange accents. That full lume dial looks very cool in the dark. I'll add links in the description to all of the currently available models if you're interested. And once again, I have no affiliation with Islander or LongIslandWatch.com. So let's take a closer look at this original black and yellow Islander Calabro model ISL 192. This dial has a lot going on. This black and yellow version has a matte black dial with applied indices and applied numerals at 12, 3, and 9. The Islander logo and text are below the 12, and the word automatic appears in white text with the water resistance rating of 660 feet or 200 meters appearing below in yellow text. A yellow circle surrounds the pinion with horizontal lines emanating from it, ending just short of the 3 and 9. The date window is color matched to the dial with yellow date text, and a yellow outline and crosshair design surrounds the date window. All these little touches help give the dial hints of the aviation theme found throughout this watch. Surrounding the dial is a 24-hour ring with AM and PM represented by black and gray colors. The hands are partially skeletonized pilot-style hands filled generously with C3 superluminova, as are the indices and numerals. The triangular GMT hand is lumed and accented in yellow. The seconds hand on this model has a yellow tip and features some very cool airplane wings, also lume-filled. I really like the strong aviation theme and the sense of depth this dial has. The proportions, placement of the text, and the use of color all come together nicely, in my opinion. The crystal is a flat sapphire with inner AR coating that does a respectable job of reducing glare. In addition to the GMT functionality, this is also a world time watch, thanks to the rotating world time bezel. You can track the current time anywhere in the world by setting your current time zone's city to the current time on the 24-hour chapter ring. So if I'm in London and it is 12 o'clock noon, I can turn the bezel so that London lines up with the 12. Then if I want to check the time in New York, or Long Island as it's labeled on this bezel, I can see that it's 7 o'clock a.m. in New York. I'm pretty sure the bezel insert is aluminum. It's finished well with a nice matte sheen and precise printing. One small issue is that the bezel is a 120-click unidirectional bezel rather than a bidirectional bezel, but it gets the job done just fine. My bezel has nice crisp clicks with a good amount of tension, and it lines up pretty much perfectly. The dimensions should make this watch wearable on a wide variety of wrist sizes. The case measures right on 40 millimeters, with the bezel at 39.7 millimeters. Lug width is 20 millimeters, so swapping the bracelet out for a strap shouldn't be a problem. Lug to lug is 48 millimeters, but that extends slightly to 49.2 millimeters when including the end links. Thickness is right at 14 millimeters. Sized for my 6 3/4 inch wrist, the weight is 169 grams. With all links, the stated weight, according to the Islander website, is 180 grams. Looking at the case, it's a relatively simple shape, mostly brushed on the top and sides, with polished chamfers on the top and bottom edges. This case has a nice downward turn at the lugs, which helps it hug the wrist and hide some of that 14mm thickness. The signed, unguarded screw-down crown is prominent, measuring just under 7.5mm, and it protrudes quite a bit, allowing for easy grip and manipulation. Setting the time or adjusting the GMT hand or date is smooth and secure. The case back is solid, with the Islander logo and lighthouse design that appears on several of the current Islander watches. The Calabro is fitted with an H-link bracelet that's mostly brushed but has polished facets on the edges of the smaller, slightly raised inner links. I'm usually not a fan of polished links, but it's subtle enough here that it doesn't bother me. Or maybe I'm just developing a tolerance to bling. The bracelet has solid links and end links, is adjusted with screw pins, and has a double push-button stamped fold-over clasp, but with a milled internal scissor mechanism. The original run had an Islander logo on the fold-over, but the newer versions appear to have the word Islander here instead of the logo. This clasp unfortunately only has 3 holes of micro-adjust. It's not a terrible clasp, but the outer clasp could be a bit better quality, like the clasps on the Islander Northport line. Another thing I dislike about the clasp is that the length of the scissor mechanism results in kind of an awkward bulge in the links here. Maybe it's just my wrist size and the way I have it adjusted, but most clasps don't have this long, rigid section and awkward links jutting out a bit like this. It's wearable, and I don't notice it too often, but it can be a little awkward at times. The movement in the Calabro is the Seiko NH34 collar GMT movement. This is a 21,600 vibration per hour movement, so it ticks 6 times per second. It has a 40-hour power reserve, hacking, and hand winding. Being a collar GMT movement, the GMT hand can be moved independently of the other hands in order to track a second time zone. Turning the crown in the opposite direction will change the date. This particular movement has been running very well, usually gaining only a couple seconds a day when worn. Along with its 200-meter water resistance rating, this GMT World Times lume is another feature that would be right at home on a dive watch. The C3 Superluminova glows very bright initially and holds its brightness very well through this 20-minute test. At the end of 20 minutes, the lume is still very clearly visible, and I can confirm that it's worked great in my real-world uses. On the wrist, the Calabro has some chunkiness to it with the 14mm thickness and substantial weight. I would have preferred more micro-adjust holes in the clasp or to have half links, or better yet, an on-the-fly micro-adjust system. But I find it still wears quite comfortably. The curved design of the case does help to hide some of the thickness a bit, but it's not a watch that disappears on the wrist or one that you forget you're wearing. The case and bracelet finishing is good for the $329 asking price, but it's not quite up to the level of crispness and precision that you might find on a similarly priced San Martin, for example. But this watch does excel in originality and attention to detail in its design. All of the yellow accents really help give it just the right pop of color without looking overdone or gimmicky. Same with the aviation theme. The subtle crosshair, horizontal lines on the dial, and seconds hand give it an unmistakable aviation theme without being obnoxious about it. The yellow Long Island on the bezel is also another nice subtle touch that helps give this watch its own identity. I've owned this watch for just over a year now, and I'm still enjoying it very much. It's nice to see new colors added to the lineup. Sometimes I do wish I'd gone for the green version, and now I'm quite tempted by the new fully loomed dial. Islander also released a True GMT or Traveler GMT model a few months ago that's also excellent, the Port Jefferson GMT. I did a full review on that one too. There's a link in the description to that review if you haven't seen it. To wrap it up, I really like the Calabro and consider it a worthwhile part of my collection. What do you think of this watch, or Islanders in general? Let me know in the comments. Also, let me know if you have any questions about this watch. Hopefully I can help. Thank you again to everyone who has been watching my channel, and check out one of these videos next if you want to see more. And whatever you have on your wrist, no matter how many time zones it can track, make your day worthwhile.